How is it going, everyone? The Trout 91 here for a special commentary today. This first gameplay is actually, I'm embarrassed to say it, my first nuclear on console. I never got nuclears on console because I usually just rush around without much of a care in the world trying to get montage clips. And I actually got a nuclear on PC. I bought that in like the first week or two of the game, and I never really bothered to try afterwards. I didn't really see much of a point. But anyway, that's not here or there. Moving on to what the video is. So this is going to be a special commentary for any of you who've watched Life, full stop. This is kind of going to be like a Life V2 or Part 2 kind of thing. But just to set this very long story in motion, I'm going to probably backtrack a little bit, revisit some previous parts of the story. So I suppose there's no further delay. Here we go. So back in... No, not that far. We'll say some things first before we start the story. So when I was younger, I never really had a clue what I wanted to do. When I was older, I never really had a clue for what kind of career path I wanted, what kind of education I wanted. I didn't really take much interest in it. You know, I was one of those kids that's like, oh, I'll be a footballer or something. You know, I'll be a fireman or a policeman or something generic that doesn't really take much to it, I suppose. And, you know, I just kind of waded through life without much of a care in the world. And I always had two fears in my life, despite the fact that I waded through life, was the fact that I had a massive fear of the unknown. You know, I don't like not knowing things. I don't like being surprised too much by stuff. And when I'm in an area of uncertainty, it kind of unsettles me, and I don't particularly like it. And there's also the fact that I always had a fear that I wouldn't live up to my expectations, or I'd let myself down, or I would underperform in what I'm doing, and I'd let myself down, basically. And those two things kind of keep me going and keep me moving and motivate me to do more. And I've had an interesting couple of years. I'm going to say the story spans over about the past 5 or so years, roughly. Maybe just a little bit less. So in 2008, I started getting into recording videos. Like, before that, I was really a Nintendo guy. My older brother, if you didn't know, I have an older brother. If you didn't know, I had a younger brother and a sister. My older brother was a Sony PlayStation guy. My younger brother was an Xbox Dreamcast kind of person. And we all just, you know, got different consoles so we could all play them at the same times and Switch and stuff like that. But yeah, he got an Xbox 360, and it wasn't until 2008 he actually got Xbox Live. And I think it was 2008 he got Xbox Live. It might have been 2007, the end of 2007. He got Xbox Live, and we were big Halo fans. We always played Halo co-op together, and then he got Xbox Live. I played Halo Online, fell in love with it instantly. I actually spent more time in his room than he did playing Halo, so I was like, maybe I should get my own Xbox to play on, because I'm spending that much time in his room hogging his Xbox. But so I did that, and then, you know, one of my friends, like, I had a couple friends that I regularly played Xbox with, all sorts of games, Call of Duty, Gears of War, Halo, all sorts of stuff. He was a big FIFA guy. I liked FIFA when I was younger, but it just didn't seem to change much during the years, and obviously it doesn't anymore still, but that's neither here nor there. He used to post up FIFA 07 videos, maybe 08 as well. No, was it 08? No, yeah, it was 08, I think. He did that, and he put them on YouTube, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. And I was always the kind of person like, wow, I did something amazing there. I would love to be able to put that onto YouTube and show the world it, and show my friends and show them how cool this thing is that I did. So after a lot of persuasion, I eventually bought a capture card. I made a £70 investment, and that £70 investment will actually come into play later on. And it kind of starts the whole story off, in a sense, despite, you know, me buying an Xbox and stuff like that. But anyway, moving on. Made that investment, started recording. I actually had problems with my recording because I couldn't get any color with the Dazzle DVC 100. Eventually managed to fix it. Even when I was just about to give up, I managed to figure out the problem via YouTube, fixed it, got some recordings, and a couple of weeks later, I got an email from game.co.uk. Anyone who doesn't know what that is, that's basically a game retailer here in the UK, and it's a popular one. they sent an email saying if you pre-order the game for World at War, you get to be in the beta. And I was like, okay, let's do that, see what happens. So I did that, and then the next thing I know, I'm getting a beta key, and I thought, maybe some people want to watch some videos of that. So I decided to post some World at War beta videos, and I've never seen my emails blow up that fast. The amount of emails I got, it didn't, like, looking at it now, it's not that big of a deal, the number I was getting, but at the time it was so huge. I was like, wow, I've got so many emails, they're just flooding in, I've got to turn all those off. But yeah, I started to gain quite a lot of views and subscribers. So over the next year, I gained like 1,000, 2,000 subs. I interact with all the YouTubers that you know now, especially like Sam, Bobby, Joel, all the big UK lads that I play with on the regular. We started talking to them. Time progressed, made videos, stuff went on. Then it got to about September 2008, and I had got my A-level results. I got a B and 2 Cs. I was actually about between 1 and 5 marks in all areas for getting the next one, so I could have potentially had an A and 2 Bs. And I had originally applied for Southampton University, which was 3 Bs, and they wouldn't let me in, so I ended up at my second choice, which was Kent, and unfortunately I was on the Medway campus. And at the time I didn't really understand that there was 2 different campuses, and one of them was a shithole, and unfortunately I was on the shithole, which was Medway. And I didn't really pay much attention to uni. I wasn't really into it. I kind of let my dad tell me what was the whole deal with that stuff, and I just kind of like got on with what I was doing. And I suppose I'm still like that today. Yeah, so like, I pay attention to the news sometimes, but I kind of just like do my own thing, and unless it really affects me that much, I'm not that interested in it. I don't pay that much attention. This is something that I didn't really pay that much attention in because I wasn't really highly motivated. I didn't really understand what I was doing. I just kind of like did it because that's what I was told from such a young age, that it's worth doing and stuff like that, not only career-wise but socially-wise. And eventually I went to uni. I didn't take my capture card because I was like, I'm going to be so busy, doing the social thing, doing the work thing, that I won't have time to make and record videos. But I actually found I did have a lot of time, so I picked up my capture card, took it back with me when I went home, and continued creating videos when I was under the impression that was going to be the last time I actually make videos, just before I went to uni. And then I started making videos again. I realized that I'd had a lot more time. Socially, everyone was about as interesting as a bag of grapes. But yeah, it was interesting because I was told so much about it, and then it really didn't live up to its expectations, and I really wasn't happy with where I was. And it was around 2008, around the Christmas, was it 2008? Yeah, so it was around 2008 in the Christmas time. So we're actually backtracking again, that I was playing World at War, and I remember my mum calling me down to the living room. I was like, so what's going on? And she actually told me she had leukemia, and it was a weird experience. I've heard about this kind of stuff all the time, but I'd never actually been on the receiving end of some news like this. So it was not nice, but she reassured me that, it was all good and it's the most curable kind. But I think that's what mothers do. They just kind of like bottle feed you, and they care for you, and they want to kind of like keep it, hush hush and not overplay it, when really it could be quite bad. But I believe it was one of the most treatable ones, but there are things that kind of like made it hard to treat, I suppose. So let's fast forward again about a year. So we're in, let's say, where are we now? 2009, Modern Warfare 2 came out. My channel started exploding. I hit about 10,000 subs by the end of the year. And that was when Machinima approached me to join their director's program. So I was really happy that I was going to get a chance to make money for something that I loved doing. Fast forward a little bit more, about a month, and it becomes January 25th, which was my mother's birthday. And on this birthday, she was actually in hospital getting her treatments and stuff for leukemia, and there was actually no one able to get to her. I mean, my brother was up in Nottingham for her birthday. He was at uni. My dad was away in India on business, I think. My little brother and sister obviously not really able to go from school to London to see her and then go back by themselves. So it was just not many people were able to see her. Like, some of her close friends managed to get some time to go see her. So I decided to come back from Kent all the way to see her, and it was one of those visits that I won't ever really forget, because of how much she smiled and how happy she was to see me, that I had come down on her birthday. I didn't tell her I was coming either. I made it a surprise, which I think was even more, even more great for her and as an experience just to have me come down. So that was nice. But it was also because she asked me if I was enjoying myself, whether I was happy with what I was doing. And I'd never really thought about it. I'm a guy who doesn't really like to make a fuss too much. I don't, and back then I never really made a fuss. My personality's changed over the years now, probably because of this whole YouTube stuff. But at the time, I wasn't a guy to make a fuss, and I was like, well, I'm not really liking it here, but I made my bed, now I've got to lie in it, pretty much, kind of stuff. So I didn't really say what I really was thinking. I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm okay, it's not what I thought, but it's okay. I'm not really that unhappy, when really I wasn't really having a good time at all. I'm saying really a lot, but so I kind of thought about it, and I was like, you know what, I'm not really enjoying this that much. And it was kind of that little thing that stuck into my mind over the next few months, when I made the decision that I wasn't happy at all, and I wanted to come home, and I wanted to leave that uni, because I didn't like the people, I didn't like the place, I didn't like the course. I was doing sports science at that university, by the way. It just wasn't a nice place to be, and it was full of dickheads, basically, in my opinion. So I left, I came home, and what did I do? I played Modern Warfare 2 pretty much every day with no real purpose in my life. And obviously, my dad was absolutely ragging me about it. He wasn't happy that I was doing very little in my time in my life, just sitting around playing games all the time. And I was just like, it was frustrating, because there's not much you can do in terms of jobs, especially if you're going to start uni in the September, which I plan to do. It was very difficult to get a job where I was. I couldn't really find anything for a long time. There was no one really willing to hire, even though it was just a simple retail job. There wasn't much going on, especially since it was coming up to summer. People had probably already given out jobs and stuff like that. So I just kind of made do with it. And then it was a couple of days before I went on holiday with my mates, and I got an email from Machinima, and it was finally, after months of them kind of avoiding paying us and lots of setbacks, they finally started paying out. And it was one of the most memorable days of my life, because it was the first day I actually got paid for something I loved doing. And it was kind of like that first time that I realized that, wow, maybe there's something to what I'm doing, and maybe there's something a little bit more that I can do with it, and it could be the start of something beautiful. And I only made about £400, which to some people might be a lot, some people might be very little, but when you consider at the time it was like one video a week, and I think it was like $2 per video, per 1,000 views on the video, or something like that. It was a good amount of money, I have to say. It was a good amount, because I hadn't put up that many videos, but they did really well for views. So I was so happy with that. Like, it really did set me up beautifully going on to holiday, because I had no money whatsoever, and I was like panicking, how am I going to pay for this holiday? So that was beautiful to see. And then shortly after, I got a job at Blockbuster. Any of you who's been with me for a while knows how I worked at Blockbuster for a little while. I loved it at first because it was just an experience, like your first real proper work experience it's one to remember. And working at Blockbuster, it's not too bad. It was a bit of a pain and boring at times, but when you first started, it was amazing. And then obviously it drags on, and you just realize how much work and tedious it is. So that went on, Black Ops released, made more videos, channel grew a little bit more, things went on. I left my job at Blockbuster around the May time because I really didn't like it. I didn't need it, I made enough money from the YouTube stuff. It was all going really well. But around the March time? Around the March time of the Black Ops year, I remember it specifically because I had a presentation to do that day. So I had just finished my presentation literally 5 minutes after I did it. got a phone call saying that, you know, Chris, you might want to get to the hospital. And the hospital where my mum was about 5 minutes down the road from my university, funny enough, which it made it weird. I didn't really... It's one of the most weird things, because I hated going to see her in that hospital because I knew what I was gonna see. It was one of the most loved people that, you know, one of the people I love the most, one of the strongest people I know, and someone who's always, for 20 years, taken care of me and been such a strong person when I've been sick. To see them in such need of me needing to help them, it was a really surreal moment, and I didn't particularly like to see it because it's not nice to see someone you love in so much pain, which is why I kind of hated going to uni, because it reminded me of what was there, and I felt the need to go and see her, but I kind of didn't want to, because it wasn't nice to see her in that much pain. But the funny thing was, once you actually sucked it up and you did go and see her, you couldn't leave. You just wanted to stay there forever and be with her. It never really made sense to me, but it made perfect sense at the same time. And I did the best I could, you know. I just kind of avoided going to uni. Mostly, well, for that reason, also, uni's shit. But, yeah, for those of you who didn't know, I went to Westminster University. I studied nutrition and exercise, sorry. And, yeah, I went to the hospital. I saw her. She was really not doing good that final day. But I came into the room and she smiled. She beamed with smiles, and the nurses always said that every time I came into the room, she always lit up with smiles. And I was a bit of a troubled child as a kid. I always had something wrong with me, you know, ear infections. I was sick. I had fevers, convulsions, all sorts of things were going wrong with poor old little Trouty. But I suppose that's kind of why I was always the one who needed a little bit more care as a kid than the others. I've become a lot stronger and more independent now, but as a kid I always had numerous problems. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so I went home. I had to study for a test the next day, and unfortunately my dad came home and he told me that she had passed away later on. And the reason was that although she had won against leukemia, like she was cured of it, it was the battle wounds that had left her really worse for wear. I think it was mostly, she used to be a big smoker, and she had a fistula in a fistula in her lung, which made it very difficult to breathe, and every time they tried to clear it up, which made it, you know, a lot easier to breathe, it just, at the end of the day, it just wasn't strong enough to do what it needs to do, and unfortunately it proved too much for her. So there's not much you can do in that situation. We just made her as comfortable as possible, and that was that, I suppose. But it was an interesting year or so. It didn't put me in a very good place, and I didn't really know what I was doing with myself. And I remember one evening, my brother came to me and he said, "Did you know that Mum wrote a diary?" She had a date planner, and she actually kind of wrote a diary in it, which is really interesting to read because of all the thoughts and things she said in it. And you look at it, and it was the first time in my life that I realized people have these thoughts that, you know, you don't necessarily think about, you know. So you're here with one person, they have a thought, you don't know they're having that thought unless they tell you. It's like when events happen in your life and you don't know about it until later, and you think, God, did that really happen on that day when I was doing this? And you look at the dates and you're like, wow, I was doing that on this day, and she was thinking this and that, doing that. And it was at that point that I realized that, you know, people have these thoughts, and if you can ever think of something, or you ever do something in your life, the chances are there's going to be someone else who's had a thought like it, or a unique thought about that thing, or done something like that. That's kind of why it annoys me that people have these moments where, like, oh, you're copying so-and-so, and you're copying so-and-so, and he's already doing this, and it's like, can't two people have a unique thought? It doesn't mean they're necessarily copying me. It's why I get aggravated when people say I copy them, because I'm just like, I don't watch other people's videos. I really don't. There's about 2-3 people I watch videos of, And if you think it's FIFA, you're very, very wrong. I don't watch FIFA videos. Call of Duty, I rarely watch Call of Duty videos. Minecraft, I don't watch anything Minecraft. I barely watch videos, unless it's like videos from proper big people, you know, like vloggers or League of Legends, or, you know, like Blade is someone for Call of Duty I will always watch. But anyone else? Nah, not really. Don't watch anyone, to be honest. I really don't watch that many videos. Which is funny, because Sam 5000, he always commented on how I watch tons of videos. Like, he came to stay at mine a couple of weekends before he moved to America, and was like, dude, you watch so many videos. I'm like, I don't know, I just sit here and see videos. Because, you know, you used to have the recommended side right on the right hand side, and it used to be full of really good videos, so I just sit there clicking on them and watching them, and they would put up new ones, especially if you like watch a video and then it would think of things that are similar to that, and yeah, so on. There, getting sidetracked, but still, that was that. So that's kind of like what happened up until that moment in time. So I suppose it's time for the second half of what's happened. So, you know, life went on. I went to events. I actually met Sam and Bobby, the first YouTubers I actually ever met in real life. You know, things went on. Life went on. I actually got invited to an event for Modern Warfare 3 called COD XP. For those of you who should remember that. And me and Sam got a bit of the VIP treatment. We were part of the media. We went with Xbox UK, so we got to test the game out like the day before all the public, and, well, I say the public, you know, the people who got tickets as public. We got to play a day early, play as much as we want with whoever we want. It was all good. Everything was fantastic. So I actually met someone there who was also with us for Xbox UK. I will keep his identity a secret, because I feel it's appropriate. Some details I'm going to keep close to my heart about what this next part of the story entails, but we were good friends, you know, we hit it off. We weren't really, like, close. We had a good chat a couple times. That's about it. Saw each other a month later at an event called The Gathering for Xbox, where there was also a certain female there who I will keep her identity a secret as well, who also gets caught up in the story. So later on, a couple months later, we meet up for drinks and such, and she actually came along as well. I think she invited herself, which was a bit weird, but he came out. You know, Bobby and Sam came to stay at mine because of the FA Cup games at Wembley. We all went out, we all had a good time. I actually had a conversation with this female for the first time, like, at the event. Didn't really get a chance to speak to her at all, ask who she was or what the hell she did. Had a conversation with her, all was going well. Nothing really said to any of them for a while afterwards, but we're all good friends. And then it was around the time of E3, actually. I went to E3, I had an amazing time, met loads of people. It was an incredible experience, and if you ever have that opportunity to potentially go, you should definitely do it, because there's no event like it out there anywhere. And I've been twice, I actually went this year as well. So we're up to 2012 now, summer 2012. So after I came back, I started talking to this female a lot more, and it was clear there was something going on between us. So we kind of started dating for a little bit. It didn't get too serious. It kind of like started, and then there was about a period of 2 months where we didn't see each other, mostly because of, you know, she was busy, I was busy. Things got in the way, things preventing us from seeing each other. I'm going to keep some of those details on lock just for personal reasons and stuff like that. But things kind of got a little bit all over the place, and, you know, Eurogamer came around, and it was the first time I'd seen her in absolutely ages, and I saw my mate as well. So it was all good. I actually met Benson and Bryce. Anyone who doesn't know them, they're fantastic Call of Duty commentators in the competitive scene, and it was around this time I actually started getting into the competitive scene as well. I mean, EGL 8 was on a little bit later on, a couple of weeks later, where I got to see TCM play Optic Gaming, and it was incredible to watch such thing, and it kind of rekindled my competitive edge. You know, when I first started YouTube, I was well into competitive, but because of the whole way the scene went, I wasn't really into it as much anymore. It wasn't a nice place to be, and I kind of strayed away from it after that. But anyway, there was something a little bit odd about her during that Eurogamer event. I wasn't really sure what it was. I kind of like shrugged it off because from what I was told by her and what I understood about us, it was all fine and there was nothing really to worry about. So I just kind of shrugged it off and moved on. But about a month later, I found out that she was actually dating not just me, but a couple of other guys, and one of them was actually my mate, which was a bit of a pain. And it was not nice, because I shut myself out of dating for a while, because one, I didn't think I was ready, and two, I hadn't really met someone that I really hit it off with as much as I hit it off with her. So and I had heard some dodgy things about her, so to hear that after I'd taken such a leap of faith with her, it was not nice. It really did mentally mess me over for a long time. And, you know, a good half a year or so of almost depression, in my opinion. Like, if there was if I had the clinical definition, I'd probably say it was around there. I have... The funny thing about this YouTube stuff is I have a very good knack for putting on a personality and an act. So I can act like everything's fine. I can put on the face, but deep down there's very different things, which is both a blessing and a curse, I suppose. So it's weird, basically, is what I'm trying to say. I'm doing a bad job of it. But yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world to kind of do. To go through life with a problem and kind of act like it doesn't exist. But I did my best. I kind of like moved on. I wasn't really up to talking about it with people. Well, I was actually. I talked to quite a few people about it, but I didn't like go public and tell people that might have been able to do something about it. But, you know, it's just, that's what happens sometimes. That's relationships and dating and stuff. In a nutshell, it can be a complete and utter wank fest in a sense. But yeah, she was a drippy bitch, basically, and not a nice person. And now, looking back on it, I'm glad that she's no longer in my life, because she was a awful person. But because of it, I started getting really close to my mate now. We had a mutual understanding and respect for each other about it. We talked about it a lot, and it was weird how we had made such friends over such a small and weird adventure, because we had similar results out of the whole thing. But yeah, like, we'd remain friends, we'd see each other a lot, talk and stuff like that, and then eventually we moved on, and I went to events like I-Series, I went to events like EGL, I went to the Call of Duty Championship qualifiers. And funny thing about that is, when we went to the Call of Duty Championship qualifiers, because I think it was a span of I-Series, Call of Duty Championships, I-Series, EGL, all in the space of 3 weeks, all 1 week after another. And we went to the Call of Duty Championship qualifiers, and he actually told me about something he's working on, like a new event or thing he's working on called Gfinity, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. And, you know, obviously I'm going to help him out as much as possible, because that's what friends do. So I didn't really hear much about it till then. You know, I kind of helped out doing things around the community, the competitive community, doing casting, helping with tournaments and events where I can, helping live stream stuff, produce stuff, all sorts of bits and bobs that I could, because, you know, I really loved competitive play. I actually played at EGL 8 in a competitive team with Extreme Academy, with Emily, Eurasian, and Defiant. Really class people. We actually did surprisingly okay, to be honest. Like, I think they hadn't won a game at LAN for 2 years or something like that. So to go in and win our first 2 games and finish second in a pool stage behind Prophecy was a big achievement. We unfortunately finished joint last, but we weren't the worst team that was there, so moral victory, I suppose. But it was good that I could go and be the underdog, and people thinking I'm just a pub stomping YouTuber and I have no real concept of how to play Call of Duty, and go and show them that I actually do know how to play Call of Duty. It's a shame that I wasn't at my optimal. I was playing really well, but it was like my first proper LAN experience. If I had some experience under my belt or a little bit more playtime, and we actually had enough time to practice more, it would have been an absolutely class event. I mean, Emily was a pickup for us. She played absolutely phenomenal, but, you know, teamwork takes time to kind of build, and there's nothing you can do about that. But it was fun. It was really fun. So moving on, after I'd done these casting stuff, my mate actually approached me about League of Legends casting, because Gfinity was a Call of Duty and League of Legends event, and it actually went on a couple of weeks ago, for those of you who didn't know. $50,000 on the line for both events, and he asked me to cast League of Legends, because he knows I play it, and I'm a decent caster. So I was like, sure, I'll do it. So you kind of fast forward, we eventually get to the event that is Gfinity, and it turns out that they underestimated how much staff they had. They weren't really prepared for it, and when it comes to League of Legends, I think their most experienced person had about 4 months playing time into it, so it's not a lot you could do in that respect, and there was a lot of things going wrong in terms of production, how everything should have been. I mean, it was the first event, there's going to be problems, and it was a bit chaos, everyone was panicking, and I was just like, look, I'd asked them the day before if they needed help setting up, and they're like, no, we got it, even though they clearly did need the help. And it eventually got to a point where they didn't have any option, but they needed some help, so they're like, okay, need you to do this, need you to do that, this, that. So I was like running around the place all day over the 2 days, just doing stuff for them. It got to a point where I was actually enjoying it that much that I wasn't even bothered about casting. I was kind of a little bit disappointed. I was like, oh, I got to cast now, okay. I was kind of enjoying doing that work. But yeah, the first day I was doing lots of running around, sorting things out with production, getting things sorted. And then the second day I was doing a lot of the admin stream work for the entire event, making sure everything was going well. So if you're watching it and wondering who was doing the polls and all the admin work and the MooBot and stuff, that was yours truly. But it was good fun. It was a great event. We had a good time, and I got a lot of praise for what I did. And I was like, dude, you're my friend. Like, I'm friends with all the people that work at Gfinity. I was just like, this is what friends do. You know, it doesn't matter when your backs are against the wall. I'm gonna come through for you, no matter what. I gotta do what I do, because I'm a caring person. I've always been that kind of person who cares for others, and you know, puts them ahead of himself, and just a caring person, pretty much, is what I'm trying to say in a nutshell. So I was like, you know, it's nothing. It doesn't mean anything, you know, like having to do this for you. It's not a having to do it. It's my pleasure to do it for you, because that's what friends do. So that's where we kind of move on to the end of the story. The first time I did this commentary, it actually took about 50 minutes, so I'm kind of glad I managed to cut a lot of the fat away. There was little bits of details I included in the first one which I felt maybe needs to cut out in this part, but the ultimate end of the story is that I managed to secure myself a job. They actually approached me and asked me to join the Gfinity team and help with the whole business, and I never really anticipated getting a job out of what I've done. I mean, 5 years ago I was simply a kid making videos on the internet about Call of Duty because I loved it, and I still love it today, and to get something like that out of it is just absolutely phenomenal. I've been all over the place. I've been to different countries. I've seen almost every YouTuber I've wanted to see and met and talked to for years. I have been making videos for as long as I can. I can't tell you how many hours I've lost editing videos, uploading videos, failed renders, videos that weren't good enough, editing. I mean, you look at some of the transitions and stuff I've done in montages. Those kind of things can take like up to 6 to 7 hours. There's one in Paradise especially where the guy kind of like moves across the screen just to transition into the clip. That took 6 hours to mask that whole thing, I think. Something ridiculous. Actually, was it 6? No, I think I exaggerate. More like 3 or 4, but it was a long time it took to just do that one effect. So if you think about all the effects and stuff I've ever done over the past 5 years, it's a lot of hours I've invested into this, and I cannot even put into words how much I appreciate every single one of your guys' support. Whether you're someone who doesn't particularly like me, just leaving a like or a dislike or a view on the videos help me in some way. So I suppose the joke's on you, but this isn't me trying to be a bit of an asshole about it. It's just, for those of you who've stuck around for that long, and for those of you who've always showed support, you have done something amazing for me. I want you to take away that if you ever doubt yourself, what kind of a person you are, even if you don't particularly feel it or realize it, you've done more than enough in creating something for me. I mean, you've done so much for me. You've given me some hobby to pass the time. You've given me a chance to meet people that I never would have met, get involved in things I would have never got involved in. You've given me a way to make money. Like, if I was saying to my mate Shifty the other day, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't make money from YouTube. I don't know how I would have survived the past few years if I didn't have that kind of income coming in. You have made me an incredibly different person from what I used to be. I used to be a very socially awkward and very quiet person. I just kind of went with the flow. I wasn't someone who made his opinion known too often or expressed it or argued. I just kind of went with what was going on at the time. I just did what I did because I wasn't that bothered. And now I'm kind of like that person who will say what he feels and thinks and does, and my personality has completely changed. I used to dread doing oral presentations in front of large amounts of people. Now I love doing that stuff. I love talking to new people. I love being in front of people. I never wanted to be the center of attention, but now that I am, it's something that I relish, and I'll be honest, I don't want to be the center of attention forever. It's never what I wanted to be. I want to be the kind of unsung hero in the background doing his thing and gets stuff done. But it's amazing how different I've come. You go watch one of my earliest videos and compare that to now. It's amazing, and that's not even scratching the surface of how much I've changed as a person. So thank you for that difference. But there's also the fact that you guys have kept me sane in some difficult times, like when my mum died during the past year with the whole female situation, which really threw me over the top, put me in a very bad place, kind of ruined my YouTube stuff. Thank you for how much you kept me sane and kept my head on straight, just by writing comments, supportive stuff, viewing the videos. But then the most important thing is you have given me a future, something that I would have never imagined I would be in a position to work in the industry I love, because it is an amazing thing, and I don't know how it happened. Almost, it's kind of almost a shock to the system that I put myself in this situation, how I got here. It was during the second year of uni that I realized that I don't want to do nutrition and exercise anymore. I want to do something in gaming, and I applied for jobs at gaming industries. I actually had interviews with Square Enix and Lionhead, and unfortunately they turned me down as community manager, which annoyed me because I have more experience and more knowledge about community management than any of the people that are employed in community manager positions, well, most of them at least, in the gaming industry, and yet they say I don't have enough experience, which is basically code for you haven't had the job before, so we can't give you the job, which is very, very silly in my opinion, because where are the people going to get the experience? And you would rather have someone who's got the title and is bad at their job than someone who's good at their job. But whatever. That's neither here nor there, because to be honest, I would have rather had this job anyway. Ever since my mate told me about it, I've been dreaming of something like that. And I used to sit there during some of the darker times, like, when are things going to get good again? You know, my YouTube's kind of gone down the drain. I don't have a job. My degree's not going great. I don't have anyone in my life that I care about almost. When are things going to change? And it's all falling into place now. You know, I did my exams, I failed them really badly. I did the resets, I pretty much passed them all. I've just got one thing to do, which was down to a referral, which is basically there was a reason why you couldn't do it the first time, so I've got to get that done at some point. Got the job. I'm actually seeing someone who's very, very special to me at the moment. So just thank you so much for everything you've done. Like, I honestly can't put into words how much you guys mean to me. And you're not viewers, you're not fans to me, you are friends, and you will always be friends to me. And I love you all to bits. There's no real way of putting it any different. You guys are amazing, and you've done something amazing for me in my life. And I suppose the ultimate question is, how does this impact my YouTube channel? I'd like to say it doesn't, but unfortunately it does. Because this YouTube stuff, it's never been my primary goal to make it my life's work, and I said that years ago, and it still maintains true today that I don't want to be doing this forever. I've said to people that I didn't want to do this forever. I would rather get a job where I can make a big difference in gaming at some point, somewhere. Just so you know, you've got that guy that you guys trust is actually out there looking out for you and is listening to what you have to say. And it's a pleasure to have done what I've done on YouTube. It doesn't mean I'm going anywhere. I'm still going to make videos, especially that Modern Warfare 3 Handicap RTC on my second channel, which, by the way, you should subscribe to my second channel if you want that stuff. I'm still going to make montages. I'm still going to make commentaries. I'm still probably going to do a Ghost RTC as well, because, you know, that's my thing, really. But to say that content is going to be regular, and to say that it's going to be all the time and forever is a lie. I'm not going to lie to you. There may be a day where I just give up and stop posting videos because I don't want to anymore. And I don't want you to be under the false impression that it will, at some point, you know, just keep going. I want you to know that at some point it may stop. It might not be soon, it might not be a year from now, it might be well into the future, but the content's not going to be regular. This isn't my primary focus anymore. It's gone back to my hobby, which I think is beneficial more for you guys, because you're going to see better content. Like, the content I do put out is going to be a lot better. I hope, at least. So I'm still going to make montages, commentaries. I'll still keep you up to date. Still talk to you guys. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you probably should do if you want to interact with me. I interact a lot on there. Bit of a Twitter addict, and it's just that YouTube's not what it used to be anymore. It's become very... It's not a place I particularly like anymore. There are a lot of people on here who don't make it the most enjoyable stuff. And the way that the YouTube layout's gone, it's made it even worse. So I think people need to realize at some point that this isn't going to last forever. I mean, are you going to sit here when you're like 40 years old making videos still on Call of Duty if it gets that far? So I've had the idea of what I wanted to do, and that's to get something that's going to last me into the future. And I think I've done that. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you all for doing that for me. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have done the things I've done. I wouldn't be the person who I am. And there's just no words to really describe that. You guys are everything to me, and I want to keep you in my life for as long as possible. I get that, you know, people grow up and people drift apart and you kind of lose interest and stuff like that, and that's perfectly acceptable. If you want to leave, that's perfectly okay with me, if that's how you feel. I just want to thank you before you do go for what you've done, because you've done something absolutely incredible. You know, it's phenomenal. And I don't really know what else to say other than that, pretty much. In a nutshell, you've done something incredible for me. And if I ever see you in person, you know, I'm going to be at Eurogamer. I'm going to be at events. So if you ever do see me, please come and say hello and just have a chat, because it's the least I owe you. I'm thinking of doing a live stream sometime this week, you know, just like a all-day live stream, just to play with you guys, and, you know, a proper thank you and a sort of sending off. It's not so much a goodbye, it's more of a I'll see you later kind of thing. I'm still going to be here, just not so much anymore. Anyway, this has been Chris Trout, aka the Trout91, signing out for, not the last time, but if I was going to make an official goodbye video, I would imagine it'd be this one. So, I love you all, and I wish everyone the best of luck in the future. I will hopefully see you again soon, and speak to you very soon. I will see you later. Peace out.